Well, good evening, everybody. Oh my God, I can barely hear you. Good evening, everybody. That's much better. Now, Kate Hudson is in the green room, and I would love you to show her love. How excited are you guys for Kate Hudson? That's amazing. Thank you, everybody. A big shout out to Nora McNeely Hurley Foundation. Nora and Michael, we love you. Thank you to all the amazing donors that have made the new McHurley Film Center possible. And in particular, the Bolek family in the front row for their support, tremendous support. The board of directors of SBIFF, thank you for their steadfast leadership. You guys rock. And to all the volunteers of SBIFF, you guys make us look good. Thank you so much. Tonight you're in for an amazing treat because we have Kate Hudson here. Oh my goodness. And I would like to welcome back a long-standing friend of SBIFF and a good friend of mine. He's the executive editor of awards for The Hollywood Reporter and the host of the critically acclaimed Awards Chatter podcast. Please join me in welcoming Scott Feinberg.
Thank you, Roger, and good evening, everyone. It's always great to be at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, but especially on a night like this one when we are lucky enough to be joined by a great artist who we have known and loved for decades. Many of us were first introduced to Kate Hudson more than 25 years ago in Almost Famous, a film she made when she was still in her teens and for which she was nominated for the Best Supporting Actress Oscar. And we have enjoyed following her over the decades since in a wide variety of projects, from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days to Raising Helen, 9 to Glee, and Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery to Running Point. She's one of those movie stars who you're always happy to see on screen, no matter what she's in, but it has been a particular joy to see, with Craig Brewer's Song Sung Blue, her once again in a role that is truly worthy of her talents, and to see her recognized for it with another Oscar nomination 25 years after the first, this time in the category of Best Actress. Tonight, I'm going to pick Kate's brain about all of the above and more, but first, let's take a look at a montage prepared by the great Mike McGee for a little reminder of the depth and breadth of the body of work of the 2026 recipient of the Santa Barbara International Film Festival's Arlington Artist of the Year Award, Kate Hudson. Please welcome the 2026 Arlington Artist of the Year, Kate Hudson.
That was emotional. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for coming and doing this. Great.
I'm so happy to be here.
So, tonight we're gonna make you take a walk down memory lane, if you don't mind.
I'm scared.
Let's go back to the very beginning. For anyone who may not know, where were you born and raised, and what did your folks do for a living?
I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I was actually raised also in Colorado. Go Broncos. And my parents are Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. And of course, Bill Hudson.
Yes.
My real father, yes.
So we'll, I guess, weave in over the course of the conversation just ways in which they might have shaped you, influenced your pursuits in life. But I guess you started going on movie sets at a very early age, right?
Yeah, this is what I know. But I think I know it from a different perspective, which is interesting. My parents were always, it wasn't fancy. It was their work. And so set was a place to be respected. And there's a lot of people working on set. And we stayed out of everybody's way. And was able to fall in love with film actually watching the magic of how it is executed. Not necessarily the dream of what it is on a screen. So, it's definitely a different perspective.
Do you remember when you first developed a desire to act for the first time? Just what may have sparked that?
I don't think I ever thought it would ever be anything but that. And I think any performer, when it's in them, it feels like that, and it wasn't just acting, it was stage for me. It was, like when I see these lights, I want to start singing. It's like, I'm like, what? And I think if you have that innately in you, it's just something you follow. So I never thought like, oh, maybe I'll be a lawyer.
Right.
It was like, I was either gonna be like, in a chorus line like my mom was, or singing somewhere, or singing in a bar, or acting on screen. It was definitely performance.
You hear different, stories from people whose parents preceded them in the business. Some of them say, please do anything but this. Others say, we will support you if you want to do this. What was that an evolving kind of thing, or was it clear from the beginning that you had support?
Yeah, my parents are more about effort, right? So it was like, growing up, it was like, if we'll support you in anything you want to do as long as you're doing it 120%. And the big thing was, why? Like what's driving the desire? And because, being a hired actor is not always fun. You don't know what your next job's gonna be. You don't know, it's a very unpredictable career. So my parents were always like, you really have to love it, because if you don't love it, it's gonna let you down a lot. I don't think they had a choice with me. I think it was out of their hands.
Now, that being said, I had read that you very nearly went off to NYU, right?
Yeah, almost. But then I went to the University of Cameron Crowe.
Yes.
I deferred for 1 year, and I started working. And actually, I saw a clips of About Adam up there, and I was 18, 19 doing that. And then right after that, I went and did Almost Famous. And it was like I was either going to start my freshman year, because I took a year off at Tisch, or my son's graduating Tisch in May.
Wow.
I'm very proud of him.
Yeah.
He did it. He followed through. But then I got Almost Famous, and I was like, see ya, college.
Yeah. Now, I guess we should say that even before Almost Famous, you were out auditioning, you were landing some things. First job, a guest star on Party of Five on TV.
Yes.
A girl competing with Neve Campbell's character for the same guy, I believe.
Yeah, like impossible.
In terms of films, I think, some of these early credits, 200 Cigarettes, Desert Blue, Gossip. But were there also things that you were initially, I think people may look at it and they're like, oh, well, she started and she got Almost Famous, and that's the rest of it. But there were other parts that you were pursuing before that maybe you did some get away that you think back at?
I don't know which ones.
Well, I heard you talk about Moulin Rouge. Would that have even been
well,
after?
I just auditioned for it.
Yeah,
I didn't get the part.
No.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, God, I didn't turn that down. And then, Yeah, no, I auditioned for Moulin Rouge. It was one of my favorite auditions I ever did. But auditioning with Baz Luhrmann is one of those great experiences where you walk out of that room and you're like, even if I don't get this, I'm so grateful I had that experience. You know, he's so energetic and connected and present and works with you. You know, I felt it was a real privilege to do that with him.
It's kind of interesting that musicals, these were who were kind of like already gravitating towards that from the beginning?
Me?
Yeah.
I've always. Music was always my first love, yeah. I mean, I was writing music. I was like a little girl who just wanted to write music. My father's a musician, yes. So it's definitely in my DNA. Yeah. And I gravitate towards the piano, and I've always been writing songs, and musical theater was always my favorite thing, and I would love to but finally end up on stage at some point doing a musical. That would be like my dream. Once I have kids old enough to where I feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so music was always like.
Well, and as it turns out, music was also related to the one that was the big break, Almost Famous. Yeah. We'll remind people, Penny Lane, not a groupie, a Band-Aid.
She is a Band-Aid.
Yes. I guess, I wonder if you can just share how you first even heard about it and what you remember, about the casting process, because I don't know that I knew this until I had started prepping, and I don't know that most people would know. You were not initially even being considered for Penny Lane.
No, I was cast as the sister, who Zooey Deschanel ended up playing. And everybody fell out of the movie. So Brad Pitt was supposed to play Russell Hammond, and Sarah Polley was supposed to play Penny Lane. Then they fell out, and I was the only one cast. And Cameron called me, and he was like, please don't leave me. And I was like, Cameron, I would do anything to be in one of your... I was such a huge Cameron Crowe fan. I'm like, how would I ever not be in a Cameron Crowe movie? I mean, you know, I'm a 90s girl, so like Singles and Say Anything and forget it. I mean, I was like, I'm in. But then I started getting offers for movies, and he started getting pressure. And then I was like, Cameron, I'm not leaving you. I'm not taking any of these things. But you have to let me audition for Penny Lane. And he got really weird about it. He's like, I don't see you, I see you as the sister. But then I did, and then I did again, and then I did again. And he made me audition almost 5 times. It was like 4.5. And Gail, the casting director, we love casting directors. She was the one who was like, Cameron, you can't do this to her anymore. She's Penny Lane. And so
and I also have from maybe that same audition, I don't know, or the last I think of the lot, I don't know, you can tell me, but Cameron recalled, quote, when Walter Parks, who was the head of motion pictures at DreamWorks, saw your audition, he said, my God, that's the most confident performance by a nobody I've ever seen, close quote. And he meant that as the highest compliment. And so, do you remember? I mean, that's a life-changing moment when they tell you you've got it. Do you remember where you were?
I do. I was home. I do. I got a phone call. And they're like, you ready? Are you ready? And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, to be Penny Lane. And I was like, what? Yeah, I'll never forget it.
And that shoot, you know, there were a lot of you who were up-and-comers who are still today at the center of the conversation. But I mean, I wonder what the scene was, you know, or, you know, kind of the vibe on that shoot.
The vibe on Almost Famous? Yeah. Oh, it was wild. We had so much fun. And it was a 6-month shoot. Before that, we did about a 1.5 months of rock school, which was really fun. The girls just sat there and watched the boys learn how to play instruments. Which of course, in my mind, I was like, I wish I was playing that instrument. But it was so much fun, and we had a great time. And also, look, we were telling Cameron Crowe's story. I mean, it's his real life story. So we all felt high stakes. So as much fun as we were having, we were also very focused on getting it right for Cameron. And working with Cameron Crowe that young is like a master class of writer-director relationship. Like, his writing is so specific to his tone. And so making Cameron's writing feel effortless is actually very challenging. And it's like, you know, they're like lyrics. So, so getting into his energy it's a vibe. And it was a great, like, incredible masterclass to have at 19, 20 years old.
Quick, funny follow-up, I guess, is that your character, you know, given who she plays, what happened in real life basically right after?
With Penny Lane?
Well,
with me?
With you.
In my personal life. Oh, well, I married a rock star.
So it goes.
Yeah.
Well.
They're fun.
So, January 21st, 2001, you attend the Golden Globe Awards for, I guess, the first time. Maybe you had gone as a kid, I don't know.
No.
And Tom Cruise announces that you've won Best Supporting Actress. Was that sort of like the moment of, like, you've arrived, in a sense?
I mean, yes.
Yeah, I imagine. It's hard to...
It was Tom Cruise, too. You're like, I mean, the movie star. Yeah, I remember watching Tom up there going, like, God, he's so great. Like, and yeah, I mean, the whole thing, although I have to say that whole time was it was a whirlwind, you know? It was like a really crazy invitation to the industry. And it was wild. So it felt definitely out of body at that time. But yeah, I remember that moment just feeling like, what's happening right now?
And there must have been a few of those in a pretty short amount of time, because a month later you're at just 21, you get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
You go to the Oscars on March 25th, 2001. And we will note that it's going to be almost exactly 25 years from that first one to
so crazy.
This one. So my last question before we show our first clips, what are your memories of that Oscar night?
I remember it all. I remember not realizing how quick it was going to happen because it was supporting, and I think it was like the first award. So we had just sat down, and then I think it was Nick Cage.
That sounds right.
Right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. It was 25 years ago. But I remember sitting there, and it happened so fast, and then I lost, and everything happened so fast, and my dad just turned to me, and he was like down a couple, and Kurt just goes, "Congratulations. Now you can go have a career." And I was like, yeah, that's right. It was like, and that was Kurt's way of saying, like, welcome, you know, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Everything happens, and in a second, it's all over.
Well, let's, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, go ahead.
Let's take a look at, I believe, 2 great scenes from Almost Famous from the year 2000. What's that like for you to watch that back?
I mean, it brings back a lot. I mean, I have to shout out to John Toll, our DP, for what a beautiful cinematographer he is. But also just, you know, look, it's a great scene, and I feel so lucky, again, to be able to have been in that, to have that experience, you know. I also remember what it was, right? So, like, we were under pressure. We only had a couple hours to shoot that scene. We had to get out of that location. It was a moment where Cameron he knew how important this moment was in the movie for him and for the character, and he really wanted to get it right. And so we were all feeling this immense amount of pressure to get it right, and we were losing light. It was one of those great, like, film moments where you're like, we gotta go. So there was a lot of, it's so amazing that with all of the things that happen behind the scenes, that out of this comes this, like, scene that you sit with, right? That you don't feel any of that. And And it just makes me miss Cameron making movies, man. He's the best. Also, that scene in the lobby, that's Peter Frampton. He's the best. We love Peter. And all of that choreography, that whole sequence where we go into the lobby and then we go up and we see Russell and we meet Russell kind of for the, that whole airplane sequence. Like that whole time was, and we're shooting on real film, so the stakes are higher than they are today, so totally. It's fun to watch that back.
So I think before Almost Famous, possibly, had you already worked with Robert Altman?
I did.
So this is...
I think it was before, yeah.
Yeah,
before
it came out after, but
that's right.
This was Dr. T and the Women, Richard Gere as the lead. I'll just say, so Robert Altman, this is a quote about you, quote, "There's something that makes movie stars, and I think Kate Hudson has got that magic. I can't even say what it is, for when someone has it, she just lights up the scene and the screen." Close quote. And this is before, again, anyone else was really saying that. And so that was cool. But then
really cool.
Yeah, right? And I guess I should just say, actors talk about him as such a...
One of my favorite people I've ever had the privilege to work with is Robert Altman. He's the greatest. He was the greatest man. He's an amazing artist, but he loves his actors and he loves his crew, and it was like a family.
So again, that was before Almost Famous. After Almost Famous and the Oscars, your dad tells you, congratulations, you could start your career. I think your mom told you take some time, right?
Yeah, she said, sit with it, sit. My mom was always about purpose, mom's purpose, right? Like why? What's the why? And I love that about my mom. It's very, very specific. I'm a little more like wild. I'm like, but I want to play that crazy part. But I like that, that was, mom was like, no, go just take some time.
And you did, right? There were probably 2 or 3 years before aside from Dr. T, the next big thing. But when there was the next big thing, it was How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which was a very big thing.
It was a big thing.
Playing magazine journalist, gets involved with an ad executive, Matthew McConaughey. Both have secret agendas. I guess, how did it come about, and this idea of you being in that genre? Was that something that you had expected that you would be at home in, or did anyone tell you why they thought you would be a good fit for that? Just how did that all begin?
No, I've never been very calculated. I don't think. I just liked the script. I liked the concept. I thought it would be enjoyable. Here's what I do know is that I love movies, no matter what genre, that get people in the seats, that are like the great collective experience. I like entertaining people. And How to Lose a Guy had such a great premise for comedy and love. So it just read really well. It was like one of those things where we went, well, this with the right guy would be a great movie. But I didn't think about anything other than that.
Beyond that. So were you on board, and then they're casting who's going to be the guy?
Yeah. They did the awful thing of giving me all approvals.
And was it?
It was great.
Yeah.
For me.
Was it a close call? Could it come close to being somebody other than McConaughey?
No, I was pretty sure that, no. I wanted it to be the right person, or I didn't want to do it. And it was weird because I was really young, and I was like, I don't want to do this if I don't feel good about who we're doing it with. And when Matthew came in and we had a meeting, I was like, oh. I think we found our guy. So, yeah.
I think, throughout film history, people have kind of assumed, I guess, or sometimes even been a bit sniffy about rom-coms, that it because they're fun and and when they're done well, breezy, people maybe think that it's easy to do, but I don't think that's the case from what I've understood. Do you find that, I mean, from that experience and maybe others that followed, like do you find that it kind of challenges you in different ways than other things you do?
I think it's one of the hardest genres to get right. And you know, my thing with it is that in order to make the great ones are the ones that are rewatched and rewatched. They're the warm blankets. They're the ones we go back to. They really inspire generation after generation. And we need to be making them. They're such a huge part of cinema history. But you have to make them with the intention, like everybody does a great film, not with the intention of making a rom-com, right? So like when you go into it sort of setting the structure and oh, this is the formula and we're gonna make it bright and we're gonna make it look like this, it's like a recipe for just a kind of, you know, down the line, fine movie, fine. But that's not the genre I'm interested in making, right? I'm interested in making the ones that, you know, the goal is to make the great movie that will live forever, that you want to go back to. Because they're really special. When you think about all of them, as good as it gets, you think about Sleepless in Seattle. You know, the great ones are ones that they're great writing and they're movie stars and it's funny and it tears your heart out. It has all of it. Yeah. And so those are the things. I love those movies. Yeah. And I think they should be made with the respect that every great script, and when you're trying to make a great script, it should be made with that intention.
And this one, so with Almost Famous, I think we could say you were the discovery. With this one, movie cost $50 million, grossed more than $177 million worldwide, and suddenly now you're a certified movie star. And I guess I wonder, do you remember that, I guess, opening weekend or whatever, where that song, I would imagine, started to sink in?
I don't think I've ever believed the hype, you know, which is I think a good thing. But I remember just being so excited that the movie succeeded. We worked so hard, and it was the first time. I was so young, from the very beginning of script and getting the script right to casting Matthew to every step of the way. You know, you only hope that you make a great movie, and then you only hope that people get to see it. So when the success of people wanting to see it and how much they loved it, what an amazing thing to be able to experience that young again. And we worked, and there was so much work put into it. So yeah, I definitely felt rewarded in the outcome.
And quickly followed the next year with Raising Helen, which is another one that people still talk about and love and plays all the time. I was going to say, the first time that you were directed, well, this is kind of a fun thing, first time you were directed by someone who had also directed your mom.
Yeah, he kept calling me Goldie the whole time.
Did he really?
Yeah, we had a Goldie jar on the thing, and he'd have to put $1 in it every time he called me Goldie. It was the best.
Just to remind folks, a young woman who becomes responsible for her 3-year-old niece after her sister's killed in a car crash. What we're going to do now is take a look at both How to Lose a Guy and Raising Helen. So in the years after, immediately after those two, it seems like you were experimenting in a bunch of different genres. I will note that horror with The Skeleton Key.
Yeah.
And in that case, I guess I should ask about working with Jenna Rollins. That's kind of a big deal. That was in 2005. And then the next year, You, Me, and Dupree, a very funny movie that still. And then one that I guess connects back to, again, through the thread of your love of music and movies and all of that, and that is the movie 9, which was Rob Marshall and probably arguably the greatest cast ever.
That was insane.
Should we just, Daniel Day-Lewis, Sophia Loren,
We should download this.
Marion
Nicole
Cotillard,
Kidman, Marion Cotillard, Penelope Cruz, Fergie.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't, where are we forgetting?
No, it just goes on and on.
Oh, Dame Judi Dench.
Sure. So, but the thing
I got to work with Daniel Day-Lewis. That was like one of the great, moments.
Well, you were playing this fashion journalist for Vogue, and I wonder the fact that you were cast in this part, which has you singing and dancing in particular. We saw some of the clip in the montage, but the Cinema Italiano. How did Rob Marshall know that was something you could do, that you wanted to do?
Well, I auditioned.
Okay.
And I wasn't really right for any other parts, so he just sort of made a number and a part. And I got really excited. So that's how that came about. I went in, I auditioned, and he said, well, I'm not so sure that the part you auditioned for is right for you, but I want you in the movie, so I'm gonna do this number and create a part for you. And I was like out of my mind, because Rob Marshall is obviously, as a musical theater person, that was a dream come true. And then he gave me the best number, Cinema Italiano, and Colleen Atwood put me in this incredible Swarovski costume that weighed like 15 pounds. So when I'm dancing, you can kind of see that I'm trying to get up there, but it's kind of hard. Yeah, it was wonderful, and those rehearsals with everybody was like, I will never forget them. And I remember one time I realized that they were filming the rehearsal, and I came and I did not look like I was prepared to be on camera, and I was looking at all these insanely beautiful women, and I was like, oh God, I gotta put on makeup. So I'm in the thing, and I'm trying to put on some makeup, and Sophia Loren's there, and she looks at me and she goes, Kate, more blush. And I was like, oh God. I need bigger cheekbones. Sophia Loren, and she is the warmest, most wonderful, beautiful person.
Still going strong.
Yeah.
And I will just say that, when you recently were honored at the Palm Springs Film Festival, Rob presented it, and you were saying that this was a big part of you catching the bug of wanting to do movies where you also got to sing, which up to that point, I guess, had not really happened, right?
Yeah, he was the first one who really gave me those wings. And also, singing was always something that I did alone and didn't necessarily have the great confidence to do publicly or on stage. And then I've just had all of these people sort of push me and be like, you've got to be singing. And so when you have people who champion you, Rob Marshall is one of those people, it sort of gives you that boost of confidence. And she's like, no, I guess, I am a singer. And then, it does take having people who believe in you to get there,
Totally. Let's take a look at You, Me, and Dupree and 9.
I never watch myself. It's so interesting having this experience. Wow. By the way, You, Me, and Dupree, I haven't seen that since 1982. and it's such a fun movie.
Yeah.
And Matt Dillon is the best. I was like, oh, Matt.
He's terrific. And then what about when you think back to working with Daniel Day-Lewis?
It was so good. He was so wonderful. I remember when Leonardo DiCaprio actually asked me how's it going, and I was like, oh, it's the best. DDL is so great. And he's like, he is? I'm like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, he writes me notes in character, like, Stephanie, you were amazing today. He's like, because he's method, right? And I'm like, Leo, when you worked with him, he was trying to kill you.
Yeah, right.
I got Guido Contini.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been, or what year did you, I guess you first had your first child was like, you were 23?
23, 24.
So we're talking in this neighborhood of time that, and you have said that, I think you stepped back a bit around that time. You were not maybe working as much. Is that the case?
Well, Ryder, no. With Ryder, he was on my hip, and I traveled the world with him, and I was a single mother for quite a while, and he had no stability. He's great. He turned out great. No, I didn't. He was my most unstructured child, and I took it with me everywhere, and he was my buddy. And then when I had Bing, it was really around that time where, once you have two, everything gets a bit harder. And Ryder was getting a bit older and needed more grounding. And so that sort of made me more central, wanting to be home as much as possible.
When you were working in those years, right around the movies that we've just after what we've seen clips of, several of these projects were also rom-coms, and I wanted to mention because people absolutely, rewatch these to the point where the DVDs were breaking and whatever. But we're talking about reuniting with McConaughey for Fool's Gold, 2008. That same year, My Best Friend's Girl, Bride Wars the year after, Something Borrowed. Did you enjoy? I've read things where you've said that I've seen both sides of this, where it was like kind of a balancing act of enjoying it, but also maybe feeling a bit confined in that genre.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear that that's where the industry liked to hire me, and then my goal, my hope was to make the best versions of those, and. In that time, it was also like, there's a lot of factors. You've got your team, you've got people saying, we really think you should do this. These are great directors. And then you have moments where you're also like, well, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I'm a single mom. And so there's all those factors come into play. And you have to kind of like, for me, it was like, okay, hopefully these will be great big, movies, and they'll be the best possible version. And when you think about all the people that are in them and all the people who directed them, I couldn't have worked with better directors and better filmmakers. And some of them hit and some of them didn't. But the thing that wasn't happening was at that particular time, was a sort of mix of different things, and I was starting to be like, I really want to be doing something different. And I think when you become really famous doing that genre, it's hard for certain filmmakers to see you in anything other than what we're watching, They sort of think that, like, well, transforming isn't what she does, when in fact, it's what I love to do. So, and that then becomes, then starts the moment that I think every actor has, no matter how famous you are, where you're like, I gotta do something different. Sometimes you hear it the other way, where someone's like, please, I just wanna do a comedy. And so for me, that started kind of the process of being like, okay, it's time to, take some more time and reflect on why I'm making this and what the purpose is of it, as my mother would say.
Yeah. Well, and there were also projects where you were beginning to veer out of that stuff that I want to note as well, such as Deepwater Horizon was with Pete Berg, 2016, and then in 2017, Marshall. Two, really strong movies that we are going to take a look at clips of right now.
Okay.
I guess one thing that occurs to me watching that clip, do you have any memories of Chadwick Boseman?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. He was wonderful.
Yeah.
We loved Chadwick.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun too. And that was just the saddest loss. But that was an amazing experience, and we shot in Buffalo, and we all had a really, really fun time together. And it was just wonderful. Bruce E. Carter, who did the costumes on that, who's nominated this year again. That was a really wonderful work and a great experience.
I'll also just mention that in just shortly before the two clips that we've seen, you had also had another, I guess now your second after 9, opportunity to do singing, which was on Glee.
Yes, I did.
This was, I guess, does that have anything to do with how you know somebody who's also here this evening to celebrate? Or I don't know,
That's not how I met.
No, okay,
No.
okay, we'll come back to that. But just, so Glee was that was 5 episodes between 2012 and 2013.
Yeah. That was fun. Really fun. Really fun. And at that moment, I had a lot of people in the industry who've been really being like, come on, come do this, come sing at this show, or come sing here, and come do this. And Ryan Murphy was like, you have to come do this. And I was like, of course. And that was really fun. He said, we'll make sure that, we'll give you plenty of time. And then I showed up, and they're like, okay, you have 1 day to learn the song, and you have 1 day to learn the dance, and we're shooting tomorrow. And I was like, what? So it was fun. And he just threw me into the fire, and I got to play Cassandra July, which was one of my favorite kind of mean characters. And it was great.
I've seen you talk about, I think you might have been referring to your own singing career as Kate Hudson, not as a character, but you've said that some people around you were not, were saying that it was not possible. It was the different things.
To make an album.
Well, just to even don't bother going down that road, which, spoiler alert, has worked out very nicely and actually led to, in a way we'll come to, led to Song Sung Blue, the fact that you had done your own music. But you were enjoying it clearly on things like Glee and 9, but and you wanted to do it on your own at that point even?
Yeah, I always wanted to make an album, but when I first sort of had success, it was I always thought music would be something that I would do, but then it was okay, don't break what's not broken, and this idea of sort of crossover careers is could have been a kiss of death, and you're sort of warned against it. Don't, you know what, let's just enjoy your career, enjoy this part right now. And it always was just sort of put over here. And then I was very busy, and then I had a kid, and then I married a rock star, and then, so the idea that was gonna be a part of my life just sort of started to go away. But it never stopped me from writing music. So then I was around in my 30s, and I remember saying to someone, I really want to make an album. And they're like, you're kind of too old now to sort of break out as a musical act or career, to have a musical career. And that kind of was well, maybe, and he wasn't wrong, I think there's a great argument for understanding when you come out in your 20s and you have that youth and that fire, and that's where you're building, and then it moves into your career, But I was oh, and then it just weighed on me. And then finally I was COVID happened, and I was there's no way I will just regret it. If I don't do it, I'm gonna regret it. I have to do it, I have to. No matter what happens. without expectation. I don't need it to be successful. I don't need that. I just have to do it for myself. And so I did it. And then I couldn't believe the reception that it received. It was so warm and loving and loved. And I was like, why didn't I do this before? But I guess it happened exactly how it was supposed to happen. But
I think another step along the way to nudging you to do it was the movie Music.
yes, definitely.
This was made by Sia, directed by Sia.
Written by Sia.
Written by Sia. And she was encouraging of you to go do this?
Sia is one of the biggest influences for me. She gave me, like I was saying, certain people give you the confidence. It was Sia who was like, you are a singer first. You have to stop. You need to open this up and feel the power of your voice. And she gave me the opportunity to really sing. And her songs are powerhouse songs. And she believed in me to sing them. And she directed a beautiful debut film. And I loved every second of doing that with her. And it was just the most artistic, creative experience. And that was sort of the thing where I was like, okay, I have to, it was the beginning of me feeling more comfortable.
So yeah, Music, the movie was in 2021, and then your first single, Talk About Love, 2024, so it must have pretty soon after. We're gonna take a look now at a clip from Music and also from a massively watched movie on Netflix and out in theaters as well, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Two fun clips. Those seem like they would be a lot of fun, the Knives Out movie.
Birdie. I want to spin off of Birdie. She was so much fun to play. I loved every second of that. And Music, that was just playing that part was that was the best.
And a Golden Globe nomination for that.
Yes.
All right, so one last project pre-Songs Along Blue that I have to talk about, because this is ongoing started streaming last year and is continuing onwards. And if you haven't seen it, you must, on Netflix, and that is Running Point, based on Jeannie Buss, essentially. Yep. Can you just, the Lakers, until recently, owner, or
right? Well, she's still she's still, but she's gonna stay on for
Well, just before we even talk about playing the part, you have a kind of a funny, cool history with this very person who you ended up playing in this show. Can you?
With Jeannie?
Yeah.
I've known Jeannie since I was 15. I met Jeannie at the Kings games. We were a big hockey family. My younger brother actually played hockey for a long time. But we would go to all the Gretzky years, the Golden Kings years. And I met Jeannie, and I was always trying to sneak into the Forum Club and get drinks. Too young. And she just would find me and be like, hey. And she'd kind of take me away and make sure I was protected and sit in a certain area. And we got to know each other. And then I got older, and we'd hang out a little bit. And she was always very protective and really sweet, and she'd take me around. And then when they were doing this, I think Jeannie was the one who was like, I think it's got to be Kate, And here I am, and this is the most fun set I've ever been on. We laugh all day, every day. It's the smartest comedic writers. It's just as fun and as naughty as it gets on that set, and I love every second of it.
And you're also a producer of it, and I wonder, how you like that added element of responsibility. I think your mom was one of the first people who produced her own projects of female, stars.
My mom was the first female to produce her own films.
Yeah.
And I think Katharine Hepburn did. It was a little different during that time as well. But my mom was the one who was like, no, I need to I need to do it for myself. And at that time, it was a very challenging thing to do. And honestly, I remember, look, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, I was very involved with in terms of being more producerial. Bride Wars I produced. It takes so much it's no joke. And as a producer, you're constantly fighting uphill battles, right? And so for a long time, between kids and everything else, I was like, I don't have the time to really dig into producing, because I think that's a really, really important job. It's how we get things done and made. And now as I get older and my kids get older, I get really excited about, leaning back into that title, to being, producing more things and getting more involved and in that aspect.
Yeah, you can control your own.
Yeah, I think for everybody, for anything, for anyone, not just myself. But, I think right now more than ever, I want to make movies that put people in the theater. And I think, there's a special way to do it. And I've been really inspired by these last couple months. And everyone has the same goal. And we all want to figure out how to protect this industry. And and it's, you're in it because you love it, and then there's the business side of it, which is specific, and you do have to fight for certain things. And I'm getting to the age now where I feel like I can do that, and I feel good about fighting for it. So Mindy really brought me on to this as an EP. I mean, this is Mindy's project, and I'm sort of more like an on-set EP. But she's a great collaborator. Her and I have found this great rhythm. She does something that very few women I've met can do, which is really champion and hardcore other women. I mean, she pushes people. She mentors other young women. One of our producers and writers, Akshara, has been with Mindy for a long time, and she's just pushed her into the forefront. And she just is one of those women that is so inspiring. And she's been doing that and has given me so much freedom on this set. And it's been one of my favorite relationships I've had.
And when do we think season 2 is coming? Do we know yet?
Soon.
All right, good. Well, in the meantime, let's talk about Claire Sardina, this woman at the center with Hugh Jackman's character, Mike, of this Neil Diamond cover band. And the movie seems to be about one thing, and then we find out it's about a whole different thing in Song Sung Blue, directed by Craig Brewer, who you'd known for a very long time, and yet this was the first time you guys were working.
when he did a Hustle and Flow, I had to meet him because I was obsessed with that movie.
Yeah.
And we met, and I was like, I want to work with you. And he was like, yeah, let's figure something out. And it just, nothing ever worked out until 20 years later. And here we are. And I've always loved Craig. And when he's in his pocket, he has this very special way about it's like he has his own genre, and with music and telling, stories about sort of what would be considered the everyday person. And in fact, they're extraordinary. And so I'm so grateful to be
Well, your
on this journey with Craig.
Totally, and Hugh Jackman, who is another person that I guess you had some history with before coming together on this project. Can you tell us both about what almost happened with Hugh, and then how Hugh, I guess, is the one that suggested to Craig that they should go to you for this?
Yeah, well, Hugh and I didn't really know each other at all. We did a workshop for this Broadway project that never ended up happening, but it was, as they do, you know, I wasn't attached to it, but they were like, hey, would you do this for us? And it was so much fun. So that's the first time I met him, and then he saw me on CBS Morning talking about my album, Glorious, and he said, and then he called Craig and was like, I think she's your Claire.
Yeah.
And here I am.
Yeah. Was it for you kind of an immediate yes, or were there any aspects of this that gave you any pause?
No, it was always a yes, because you don't read parts like this on the page very often, where it just runs the gamut. You know, you're playing every note. It's not like you're hitting one thing and you're, you know, going forward. It's like you're all over you're in love and you're silly and it's funny and you're performing and you're singing and you're a mother and then you get to go to all the places that I got to go to with Claire, on top of it being her life story. So that, you know, the stakes of that and honoring a real person, not just taking too much leeway with it. So that doesn't happen very often. My fear was that it could have gone horribly wrong. You know, it was like, you know, you know, when you watch that documentary and their life story, it's like it could have leaned in a direction that could have, you know, really gone south.
And then we should just say this is a 2008 documentary also called Song Sung Blue, which captured their story in the 90s of...
Right, which is what Craig Brewer, you know, adapted his screenplay from. And but I thought, you know, it's Craig. Like, he knows exactly what to do with this, and I felt really safe knowing that he really understood this movie, and he wrote it, and he knew exactly what he wanted to do with it, and he would never, ever put that family in a situation where it wouldn't have been the best possible scenario. I know that about Craig, so I felt very safe. And then that allowed me to really lean in, you know, which is what it's like working with great filmmakers. You sort of allow yourself to sort of go. You do, you know, you have your process and you do all the work up front, and then you can, you know, start what I see as like almost like channeling, and let go. And then having Hugh, who is just the most wonderful human being on the planet. And he really is. And he's so fun, and he's so generous, and he's so giving. Was like, you know, I felt very, very held.
Did you, in any way, kind of personally connect to this character you're playing? Obviously, couldn't have lived more different lives, but yet, and this was something New York Times wrote, quote, in some ways, Hudson was Thunder, a mom with moxie who decided in her 40s to take a chance on herself, who refused to let her passion for singing shrivel into regret, close quote. And, you know, there seem to be actually some parallels. I don't know.
A huge one.
Yeah?
Yes, of course. You know, there's when you have to make music or you have to sing, it eats away at you if you're not doing it. And I know what that feels like. I also know the joy that I feel when I'm singing. And when I saw Claire in the documentary, and now in real life, watching her sing is like my favorite thing, because she loves it so much. And she sings with every ounce of her, every, you know, thing in her body. I mean, she just is so happy when she's doing it. And I can definitely relate to that part of it, for sure.
And the fact, I mean, that she's out there, was that something that was intimidating? I mean, when along the line did you connect with her? Because I will say, I'm going to quote back what she has said about this, if I can just find it, sorry. Here we go. Well, let's start with just, did you you know, I could see it both ways. There would be a reason to and not to want to meet the person you're playing.
To get to know, yeah. I think you know, you risk getting too caught up in their personal experience than the movie the director's trying to make. So for me, I agree, you know, Craig and I talked about it a lot, and it was like, you know, we have plenty of time to meet Claire. We had the resource of the documentary. He really wanted me to trust my instincts on it and not get too sort of connected to the parts of the story that either weren't in the script or certain things about her, you know, that were. So I respected that. And it was, for me, it actually felt like it took a little pressure off for me. And then when I met Claire, I realized that Craig knew what he was doing all along and was being a great director, which was that, you know, I got the essence of Claire when there's this great video of me talking with her on set, and we're in the little director's chairs and we're laughing, and you can see like our heads, and we're laughing and our heads going back, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm clearly playing this girl in this movie, you know? So I'm glad that I you know, that was the way that we did it, and now I get to know her. And
yes, and she, I have found it, has said to the New York Times again, quote, "Kate did such an amazing job, especially during the sad moments, and I've definitely had my share of those. I was in tears a lot while watching her. We had a box of tissues and most of them were gone," close quote. Also, how did you get that accent? That's not an easy Milwaukee accent.
The Milwaukee accent.
Yeah.
Well, I studied it. I grew up with someone from Wisconsin, worked with someone from Wisconsin. So it was like, you know, and I understood the sing-songy nature of that particular accent. And then I worked with this amazing dialect coach, Jess, who was great. And I had the documentary. And also, when you watch the documentary, you see Claire has different voices throughout, you know, and when she gets mad and you hear her voice get raised, you know, I would listen to that and go, oh, okay, and I could hear her little hard R's and certain things she would do. And so, you know, it was a mix of all of it, and then just getting it in my blood.
Yeah. So. And how about, I mean, I would imagine some of the toughest stuff to play would have been after the tragedy, the surprise that kind of comes out of the blue, obviously for her and for the audience. Just both in terms of how you prepare to play that, and also logistically, how was that achieved?
I mean, there's a lot of things that, you know, I mean, like anything, there's a lot of you know, for me, my personal process is, I did a lot of research on the pain, you know, phantom pains, understanding shame that comes with when you lose a limb, tragically. The rebalancing of understanding how to use your body, what that does to your brain, all that stuff, you know, we research and look at and talk about. And then also the physicality of it, the time, watching Claire, like even her own experience, and then watching other people. And the technology back then wasn't like great, so it was a little bit different than it is now. So all of that, but really it's about finding the moments where you are kind of highlighting those things, right? So for me, the shame part, a big moment for me was the moment where I'm putting the prosthetic on for the first time, or at least you're seeing me put the prosthetic on for the first time. And how the pain of that is not just physical, it's profoundly emotional. And then what precedes that is a scene of held in rage. And all of those things, you know, the process of all of that is years. Oh, are you okay? of years of working with, different amazing, whether it be acting coaches or different actors and people I've learned from, and sort of taking all of the things that work for me and being able to go there. And then for me, I do work up front, and then I let it go on set, and I am there to collaborate with my director and Hugh and everybody on that set, and move things around and work on my feet. That's the thing I love the most, is to be so prepped up front that you have so much flexibility and ability to move around. And so that's what it was.
The last thing I'm gonna ask you before we look at our last set of clips is, you've described Song Sung Blue as, quote, the first movie that I have ever made in my adult life, close quote. And I wonder if you can explain what you mean by that, like to be able to do the kind of prep and research and things that you have just alluded to requires time and focus. And so
I love answering this question. Yeah. Now that I'm middle-aged. No, I feel like my kids are at an age right now that allow me, for the first time in my life, to actually take time for myself to be creative without the constantly. Now, I'm a mother, so I'm saying this, but my phone is going off every 5 seconds, and all of them need something at all times of the day. But what I mean by that is, when I went to New York and I shot this movie, it was the first time I went home, and even though I was living with Ryder and he was my roommate for, the 2 months, he's an adult. So I'd be there and I'd sit at home and I'd be by myself, and I'd have a glass of wine and I'd be like, oh, I don't have to do anything. And then I'd look at my script and I'd sit and I'd think about the day and I'd think about the next day, and there was so much quiet. And I also have a partner, the first time in my life, that I'm so supported that I feel like I can do that. And thank you. And so I really it feels very adult, this part of my life. It feels like, oh, I'm now entering a new phase of my life and career where I can do some things for myself, and it's exciting. So yeah, that's kind of what I mean by that.
Well, let's take a look at two of these things that you are doing now that you've become an adult, in Running Point and Song Sung Blue. Last few things before we free you from all of this. What was it like for you to watch that movie for the first time? I always watch everything with a very critical eye, because obviously it's weird to watch yourself on screen. But I watched that movie and I got lost in the movie. And I couldn't believe it. And when it was done, I was like, I miss movies. I felt like I hadn't seen a movie like this in so long. And I just felt I was like, that's me in this movie. And and I got to experience it with my parents, my amazing agent, Allie Trustman. And we literally all just sat there crying and thought, we just talked about how much we loved the movie. And it's, again, I talk about how inspiring it is to be a part of this process, and that is also part of it. You sit in theaters when you're young and you watch something, and a lot of us, it inspires us to want to make movies. And the hope is that you one day get to be in one of those. And that's what that felt like for me when I watched Song Sung Blue. I was like, oh, I got to be in one of them. And
and it felt amazing.
So last thing is, I guess it was about 3 weeks ago, at about 5:30 in the morning, you got some cool news that you hadn't received since it happened previously 25 years ago. A, how did it compare? And that experience of waking up to that kind of a thing. And B, are you already finding, because of the movie, because of the acknowledgement that you've received for the movie, whatever, that new opportunities are opening up already?
Well, to answer your first part, it feels amazing. And I think I love movies. And so when you're in the business and you see all of it, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you've been doing it for a while and you've had success and failures, and you have also taken responsibility for those things yourself. You kind of look at it and you're like, there's nothing better than this industry. Like, the fact that I even get to work in it as a career is such a privilege. So in a moment like this, 25 years later, with all of the friendships that I've made and all of the people who have championed me and all of those that haven't, I feel like I still believe in it, and so it's almost like a celebration of everybody that's been in my life, and I remember, like, Oprah looked at me, and I have a really hard time taking compliments, and she's like, take it in. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it in. And so that's what I've been trying to do, I'm just taking it in. And I know that the industry is so interesting. And 1 minute we're sitting here and we're celebrating, and the next minute I'm like, oh, that didn't work. But I'm just gonna stay present. And yes, I think whenever you're in this conversation, you do become a part of the bigger conversation. It does create opportunity, and you want to take those opportunities and you want to manage that as well as you can. But there's no crystal ball. And I also love making movies that people want to see. So it doesn't mean to me that all of a sudden I just want to be doing this for this, for the concept of the accolades. I want to do it to put people in the theater too. So I really kind of it's sort of like fulfilled this passion for me to say, I still want to just do it all. Yeah. And this feels like the beginning of maybe, that part where I get to do a little bit more transformations than maybe I've been able to do in the past.
Very exciting. That's great. We have one more thing for you to take in. You're talking about taking in compliments. We are going to have the hardware from the Santa Barbara International Film Festival presented to you by another great actress who does some singing as well. Please welcome Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh my God.
Hello, good evening. Wow, this has been so wonderful and amazing. You've done such a beautiful job. It's been incredible to go down this memory lane with you. So sometimes you get asked to do these things and you do it because, it's somebody you know a little bit or you admire them a lot. But I am here because Kate, Hudson, and I are real, true, old friends. We didn't meet on Glee, but we've known each other for a very long time. She's kind of like a little sister to me. I'm much older than she is. But I remember seeing her when she was little. Our parents were friendly, and I remember seeing them. I remember them hugging outside of a restaurant called 72 Market Street in Venice, and being starstruck by her mom, of course, because we kind of grew up in the same orbit. But it wasn't really until the early 2000s that we became what we are now. She was married to a rock star, and I was dating an actor from Texas who had done a movie with Kate, and we went to go see the rock star's show, and there was Kate, so beautiful and bubbly and blonde and curly and fringy and lace and cutoffs. And I don't know, it all just kind of started there. And interestingly, we have logged a lot of life together and lived a lot of chapters alongside each other. Marriages to musicians, plural. We had our expat years in London, babies, and renovating houses, and her 30th birthday where I got really drunk, and my 40th birthday where everybody, I think, got really drunk. And, we've been through breakups together, and just like this wonderful intertwining of our families. Our kids were in a band together, and they were tiny, and then went to high school together. And so anyway, we've just had the kind of friendship where we've had the full spectrum. And I have watched over these years as she's taken on roles with so much life and spirit and momentum. She's an amazing artist. She's an entrepreneur, obviously an incredible singer, and a mother. And I really want to say this part. Kate is an extraordinary mother. You are. Her kids are these beautiful, hilarious, very much themselves people. They're really in their own skin and confident and kind, and that's the greatest gift you can give your children, and that does not happen by accident. So then, of course, this year we've had this performance of Claire in Song Sung Blue, and we have always known how amazing Kate is. She has been, it was amazing to look back at, oh my God, she looks just like her son Ryder in these movies. It's so crazy. But she's always been so good, had that beautiful spark. You just want to watch everything she does. She has the best comedic timing. She's a ray of sunshine in all these movies that made her a star. But oh my God, this performance, she absolutely took my breath away. She is so raw and so real and nuanced and destroyed and redeemed. And I have to say, it is so hard. You were talking about the accent. It is so hard to do that accent that well when it's so emotional in all those difficult scenes. Like it's such a, she pulled off such a feat. It's just flawless. And I called you straight after I FaceTimed you and I finished, and I burst into tears, not only because I was so proud of your skill and your brilliance, but because I felt you finally had a role that shows all of what you can do. And I love the utter declaration of yourself as an artist that this film has given you at this point in your life. You are just astonishing and so inspiring. So, Katie, my dearest Katie, you are a true one of a kind, You are a definition of a light in this world, and it is my honor to present you with the Arlington Artist of the Year Award.
Well, that made me cry. My kids. It's what we do it all for, isn't it? Well, Gwyneth Paltrow, you are stunning, gorgeous, and a beautiful friend, and thank you for being here. And thank you, you always show up for me, and my kids, and my family, and I am forever grateful, so thank you. I respect you, and I look up to you, my gorgeous friend. Santa Barbara International Film Festival. This is such an honor, and it was a wild ride down memory lane. That was wild. And a lot came up, and I can't wait to get to my journals and like unpack it, because I have so many notes. But this whole experience has brought up a lot of reflection on my career, which I don't usually do. I tend to stay in the moment, but being here and feeling this warm reception for this film and the performance has given me a chance to look back and think about all the people who supported me and guided me and challenged me and shaped me along the way. And it also makes me reflect, and I know we talked a lot about this, this might be repetitive, but it made me reflect on our business and how it changes, but also how much of it has stayed the same and how comforting that is. So receiving this Arlington Award, which is so pretty, is especially meaningful because I spend a lot of time in Santa Barbara because all of my friends have moved here. They're not in LA anymore. So I'm probably next. You never know. But every time I do come here, I do wonder, I'm like, why don't I live here? And I love this community. And the way you support the arts and storytelling is amazing. So thank you. Song Sung Blue, honestly, it was one of the great experiences of my life, and very rarely do you get the opportunity to play roles that ask everything of you. So I get to fall in love, and I get to be silly and a mother and perform and sing, and then go to the darker, more challenging places while honoring a real woman who's alive and well, Claire Sardina, whose life was a privilege to play. And we had 36 days to film this, so it was pretty fast. And I couldn't have done it without my incredible partner, Hugh, who is the most, I said it before, I'll say it again, generous, open, beautiful, supportive man through this entire process. And then in the hands of Craig Brewer, our writer-director, it came to life and it touched so many hearts. And so I'm just so grateful I got to play his Claire. And then I have to acknowledge Focus Features because they're supporting me and this film, and the movies that they're making are just incredible, and it's amazing to see studios out there really making such incredible work, and I love seeing it and being a part of that family. I've loved movies my entire life, and I grew up watching two actor parents navigate intense schedules and seeing how this work pulls you away from family, and I still chose this life. And I think the reason is because when you love something this much, it's not really a choice. But what my parents did do was teach me discipline in the craft,
whether it was dance, music, theater, acting class. And I continue to learn from every person that I work with. And I believe that this craft never stops giving, and we never stop learning. To feel this kind of recognition is incredibly moving, and it makes me think of all the people I've been really lucky to work with over the years. And my deepest gratitude goes to my kids, because they're being really patient with their mommy right now. And they're also really excited about this time, and they're rooting for me, and that it's really meaningful. My parents, let's get back to those guys. This is really important to me because they did keep me grounded, as seemingly ungrounded as this life could seem. It wasn't for me. It was very grounded, and they instilled real confidence in me as a young woman. And I think for young girls, especially when you're self-assured and you have confidence, people try to dim your light. And they really taught me that my joy is a superpower, and that my optimism isn't a weakness. And to just keep plugging away and to keep working hard. And I love doing the work. And I'm endlessly grateful that I get to make a living doing what I love. And it's moments like this that remind me why I started and why I continue. And so thank you for your support. And I love you. And I wish everyone the most beautiful Valentine's Day tomorrow. May it be filled with so much love. Thank you so much.